What's up, guys? teamknl here, Kai, and pretty much since the last countering series or video was pretty popular, I figured I'd upload a new countering video about this latest threat to the meta, which is of course Evilswarm, or mainly Ophion himself, since Evilswarms aren't really that great outside of Cercion, but that's besides the point. Pretty much, I'm going to show you some ways in which that you can counter Evilswarms. Counter Ophion, because most of the time that's mainly who you're going to be staring down anyways. An introduction to the deck, I guess, for some of you who don't know. Pretty much Ophion, the deck is based around bringing Ophion out. Pretty much he requires 2 Evilswarm monsters. I believe it's Evilswarm or Evilswarm. It's either one, but you usually only use the Evilswarm. So you pretty much just summon 2 Evilswarms anyhow with Caster, Mandragora, Rabbit, since they have their own vanilla and whatnot. And then you just make Ophion. And pretty much Ophion stops you from special summoning monsters, as well as preventing you from using, well, it doesn't prevent, but he pretty much mitigates the effectiveness of spells and traps, since he searches out their own Forbidden Lance, which targets all Evilswarm monsters on your side of the field. Well, it doesn't target, but all Evilswarm monsters on your side of the field are unaffected by other spells and traps, so you can search that out for free. So that means that Ophion is a bit of a problem for most of you Mermail players, or soon-to-be Prophecy / Elemental Dragon players. So there's going to be some tech in here for you guys, for you futures guys, as well as you current players right now. So let's start with just the simple cards. Pretty much Ophion is similar to Logia. His main weakness is monster effects, since the epidemic will mitigate whatever usefulness of spells and traps that you have. So Dark Hole isn't going to do too much when they have their own lance that they search out for free. So most of the time you're going to be using monster effects or by battle, which is very rare since it's hard to bring out level 5 or higher monsters that are stronger than 2550. So normally you're going to be using monster effects, and it's the same thing as with Dino Rabbit. Like, pretty much most of your side deck that you use with Dino Rabbit will pretty much transfer over very well to Evilswarms. So Raikou, Snowman Eater, and Fossil Dyna. I'll discuss these 3 first. Of course, they're very useful. Fossil Dyna is a great preemptive to Mandragoras, as well as destroying Ophions should your opponent not have a Dress or whatever. And Dress is mainly going to be their main counter towards any of these guys, but for the most part, they don't really play Dress. They rather play Safe Zone now, or at least the OCG does. I don't know if people still play Dress here or on the TCG or not, but for the most part, people play Dress, and that's mainly what you have to look out for with these guys. But for the most part, these guys will get rid of whatever Ophion presents you with a problem with. And Snowman Eater will get rid of the Ophion pretty quickly, and Raikou, just in case you don't have the Ophion, you can use that as spell trap removal, as well as setting up your graveyard. So it's really basic. And then with Reaper, the Evilswarm deck doesn't play very much main deck removal that doesn't force you to like pretty much if you set Reaper, then they usually have no outs to it if you're not an idiot and attack with it. So setting the Reaper will pretty much limits their outs outside of Dress and Lance, which if they use that, then that means you're freeing up one of your other spells and traps to potentially take out Ophion. But Spirit can pretty much stall the game to a halt and let you find other resources to get rid of Ophion in a quick pinch, such as double Deep Prison or double Torrential if you seriously have to get rid of that Ophion. But so yeah, that's that option right there. And then we have specialized options, which is they may not fit into, they don't work against Dino Rabbit that well, but they work better against Evilswarms than Dino Rabbit. First one is Consecrated Light. Back when Blackwings and Infernities were around, I wasn't playing competitively at this time, but pretty much Consecrated Light stopped those players to a halt. You cannot summon or special summon dark monsters, or declare an attack with a dark monster while Consecrated Light is on the field. So like Reaper, it brings the deck to a halt. However, The thing is that you can still, if they have already two, well, they can still set their dark monsters and flip summon them and, you know, make an exceed that way. But it's going to take at least 2 turns without to get rid of Consecrated Light without any spell or trap removal. But Consecrated Light is pretty good. If you can side it, then I would suggest siding it. And then next we have Meteion. Meteion is very, very good at getting rid of Ophion because he's a monster effect, so he's similar to Raikou, Snowman Eater, and all that stuff. However, since he can be normal summoned, so normal summon without special summoning because that's his effect. And then pretty much whenever he attacks, then he pretty much causes all monsters to bounce back into the deck, which is really good because that gets rid of Ophion. Then they have to commit more cards to the field to create another Ophion or whatever. So yeah, Meteion is pretty good, as well as being great for Elemental Dragons, since he's a fire, so you can use them with Blaster, which, by the way, Blaster is also Ophion's worst enemy. And then last we have Tsukuyomi. Tsukuyomi is pretty much in the same category as Meteion. On summon, she turns into Book of Moon, which is really good because then you can do whatever you want after that by special summoning your Mermail monsters or using your Megalos Marksman to pop the face down Ophion or all that silly stuff, you know. Just pretty cool stuff with Tsukuyomi. So Tsukuyomi is going to be pretty good later on. And then next up we actually have some spells and traps that can actually work for you against Ophion. So first we'll discuss Fiendish Chain. Pretty much what you want to do with Fiendish Chain is, you just want from now on, Fiendish Chain is going to be one of the first traps that set. Because as soon as Ophion activates its effect, you just Fiendish Chain it and hope that they don't have a lance or whatever. And if they do have a lance, then you get the search, and they have 1 turn where they won't be affected by Chain once again, which they have to predict when you're going to be able to special summon and whatnot. So then if they waste a lance on the wrong turn, then you pretty much can OTK them the next turn, assuming you survive. But Chain is going to be pretty good coming up, as well as a Breakthrough skill. I don't have a Breakthrough skill on me, but Breakthrough skill isn't as great as Fiendish Chain to begin with. However, the ruling with its effect where it banishes from the graveyard in order to negate a monster's effect, that does not start a chain. It is a quick-like effect, I believe, and those don't start chains at all. So your opponent can't use the pandemic virus or lance or whatever in order to negate, in order to prevent Ophion from being negated by the effect. So that's also really cool about Breakthrough skill. It also works against Lad, which is going to be a problem in upcoming meta, but Fiendish Chain. And then Nordic Relic Leviathan, I can't say that card name, but pretty much what this card was a tech back when Dino Rabbit was in its prime. If Logia destroyed a monster, you would pretty much flip this card, and it would destroy the Logia. And they can't negate this card's effect because it is similar to Super Poly, where card effects cannot be chained in response to the activation of this card's effect. So, really good. They can't use their dress or lance or whatever in order to protect the Ophion, and I actually think this is going to be a pretty good tech from here on out for certain decks. I don't think it's going to work that well in Mermail, but you know, other decks like Prophecy, or well, probably not Prophecy since they don't have that many monsters, but Elemental Dragons, I guess. But yeah, so that's some cards in which that you can tech out against Ophion. Some really good cards in my opinion, and definitely some that you should consider siding if Evilswarms is indeed a problem for your deck. Or you could just play a deck that isn't affected by Ophion at all, which some examples are Fire Fists, Monarchs, Hunters, and Constellars. So Fire Fist is easily the best deck to play right now outside of Mermail because, well, in my opinion, Mermail is still the best deck because Ophion isn't going to hit the field that much, or is it going to be reoccurring as much since Cerceon isn't available But Fire Fist is definitely the second best deck to play against if your meta is very Evilswarmy like, because Bear just ruins Ophion's day like nothing. Multiple Bears, they ruin his day so easily with 10 Sus and 10 keys, and oh my god, Bear. This matchup is just very unfavorable towards Evilswarm, since Gene Warp is the new standard for monsters that you have to attack over. So 2000 isn't very easy for Evilswarms to attack over, especially since their vanilla is only 1950 and Thunderbird is only 1950. So very difficult. And then Monarchs. Monarchs are very, very good because most of their summons aren't prevented by Ophion. Not negated, but since you can still dump the Treeborn and pretty much just Monarch the Ophion every turn, and unless they have like Lance or something, in which case if they do, then you can just run it over, or Dress, I mean. If they have Dress or whatever, then you can run it over. If they have Safe Zone, you can use your next Monarch to target that monster, target the Safe Zone and get rid of it. So I mean, Monarchs is also a very good deck to counter Evilswarms. And then next we have Hunders. Hunders work really well against Evilswarms. The only thing that I would say that's bad about the Hunders is that most of their defense is going to be hindered because of Ophion, since they play Trags and Gores and not very much back row and BLS and all that stuff, you know, just typical chaos stuff. But Hunders is still good. They can make rank 4s pretty quickly and easily, as well as generating a lot of advantage for Ophion to have to deal with. So I mean, very good. They have their own removal as well with Paladynamo, so that card is also really good against Ophion. Turning Ophion into a 0 attack is just ridiculous. And then Constellars. I personally don't know too much about Constellars, but it is supposed to be the in-set counter to Evilswarms is what people are saying. So I mean, you can try to deck out. I'm personally not sold on it, since Constellars is actually really, really slow. It's more consistent now since they have Rhoda and Tenki, but it just doesn't work that great in my opinion. But it is still an option if you guys are looking for a deck. So just remember these 4 decks and pretty much just have fun ruining Ophion's day. This is teamknl Kai. Like, rate, comment, and subscribe, and